All right, you're welcome. Good afternoon, Ghana is the program, and this afternoon what we're focusing on is a young soldier who has now finally been laid to rest, and of course, aftermath. Some of the things that happened in Ashaiman that has to do with brutalities, military meeting on brutalities on citizens, innocent citizens who were arrested later. Some of them were still making accusations and allegations that they were brutalized even when they were arrested by the military police. The update is that these people, over 100 of them, have been released by the soldiers and are now back with their families in Ashaiman. But the Member of Parliament for the area, Ernest Noble, has joined his people and are demanding for compensation in Parliament, for compensation, But in Parliament yesterday, was it yesterday? 3 days ago, His Excellency presented a State of the Nation address. There's been criticisms from the minority side that he lost an opportunity to make peace with the people of Ashaiman and to comment on it, at least to show that he is concerned about what happened. But there's also been the other side of the coin, that it is a security issue. If you're not well briefed, you probably wouldn't have to say together. And our man, Elvis, has been on the ground right from the beginning of the issue till today. Last night, he really well briefed you on Good Evening Ghana. I'm sure you went through it. We have this afternoon Pagwe Boachidankwa with us. He's a government spokesperson on governance and security. Theophilus Donko, private legal practitioner, will also give us his opinion on the matter. Francis Nyantichi is the board chairman of Amnesty International Ghana. What are they saying? And Adib Sani has been our resident security analyst, and always also comes our way once in a while. And he's a security analyst. He will join us and we'll deliberate on the matter. For now, let's take a breather. We'll be back shortly. My name is Annie Ifwa Ampofo. Welcome back to the program. Is Good Afternoon Ghana, and I've already told you that I'm going to be here with some analysts, experts, government officials, and a government official who's joined me here is Pagwe Boachidankwa, who is a government spokesperson on security. And he's joined me, in fact, governance and security. You're welcome. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Annie. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Also, Theophilus Donko, who's a private legal practitioner, is also with me. You're welcome, sir, and thank you so much for your time. Is your mic on? Okay,
yes,
it is.
Thank you.
Right. So we'll subsequently be joined by Francis Nyantichi, who's the board chairman of Amnesty International Ghana, and also Adib Sani will join us via Zoom, as and when we will pick their thoughts on what we're discussing, what's on the table. Let's first take you through the Ghana Armed Forces and what its responsibilities by law are. They're supposed to be fighting for us, right? So let's see if we can go to some basic objectives of the Ghana Armed Forces. So improve overall professional knowledge, improve leadership, management, and communication skills, enhance understanding between the three services, deepen awareness of the changing roles of the military, encourage in-depth and understanding of civil-military relationship. Take note of that. It's a basic objective of the Ghana Armed Forces. Encourage an in-depth understanding of civil-military relationship. We also have improve awareness of international, global issues, and also in governance. And then we also have improve education and economic standards. Integrity, discipline, and hard work. Passion, purposefulness, and personal responsibility. Also truth, mutual respect and collaboration. We also have international curiosity and creative thinking and commitment to excellence, risks taken by reaching beyond perceived limitation, risk taken by reaching beyond perceived limitation, and demand-driven curriculum that is relevant, innovative, and practical. So do we have more? Okay. So those are, I think, the basic values, the core values also. We shared with you the basic objectives and then the core values of the Ghana Armed Forces. But, by law, that military, their work really is to fight, go to the battlefield. But definitely the battlefield will not be with its own citizens. And so normally, if you go to more advanced countries, you don't find the military roaming on the streets like we see in Ghana. You always find the military almost everywhere. The military is always like in hiding until they're called to duty. And in Ghana, since our last time we were told by Adam Bona that we expect about 45,000 of police officers to be on the ground. As it is now, we're expecting 90,000. We have just 45,000 on the ground. So it means that we're short of about 35,000. So when we need maybe enforcement, the military I don't know. The commander-in-chief can't decide that, may want to give us assistance. Like the COVID season, you saw what happened. The military and the police were all working together. It was war against disease at the time, maybe. So those are the basic objectives and the values of the Ghana Armed Forces, aside going to war. Right, I'll introduce my guests once again. And as and when the Zoom, guests also join us, they will get into the discussion shortly. Right, so Pargrave, firstly, let me have you respond to, no, I won't let you respond. Oh, I think I have someone on Zoom. I have Francis Nyantechi, board chairman of the Amnesty International with me, right? Francis?
Hello, good afternoon.
Your face is so darkened that I can't.
Yeah, I'm traveling. I had to stop for this interview, so where I am is not all that comfortable, but I have to manage.
Right. It's shocking how your background is white. Anyway, thank you for joining us. So you're welcome. Okay, since you have joined, let me pick your thought in terms of what Amnesty International has thought of this whole, rancor or cycle that we've had with the people of Ashaiman and the military.
Thank you. I must first say that we at Amnesty International is against any form of mob action. What happened to the young military officer is regrettable. And we call on the Ghana Police Service to do thorough investigation and prosecute those who are culpable of this offense. We think that mob action is becoming the order of the day in Ghana, which is very unfortunate. We should find a way of stemming this tide. The security agencies, traditional authorities, the local government should find a very good way of preventing mob action in our communities. It can happen to anyone. And unfortunately, our young police officer who has dedicated his life for this country has suffered this unfortunate fate. It is regrettable. And we call on the police and other security agencies to act. Impunity is becoming the order of the day, and at times it becomes worrying. We know what happened to Major Mahama, and as of today, we've not been able to clear this particular issue. And so we should speed up when it comes to investigating issues of mob action, especially when it affects our men that we have armed them to protect us. That notwithstanding, we think that when issues of this nature happens, the laws of this country is clear about who should do what. And the Ghana Police Service is capable of doing internal investigation and arresting culprits who were involved in this particular issue. And so for us, it's regrettable that the military had to take this step. Two, the arrests and the kind of torture that the people went through is regrettable. And we think that it's unfortunate. The Ghana Armed Forces, we believe, is a very disciplined institution. It is a creature of law. And so at any point in time, we shouldn't be seen to be taking the law into our own hands because we have the power. You should know that the Ghana Armed Forces, and should they do this and citizen doesn't talk, it becomes problematic. And so for us, we think that is unfortunate, it's regrettable, it shouldn't have happened in both cases. And we are calling on the Ghana Police Service to take over the case. We are urging the Ghana Armed Forces to go back to the barracks and trust that the Ghana Police Service will do the needful. We are also saying that victims of the attack should be handled with care. Their medical bills should be paid for. They should be given psychological support, and if necessary, be compensated for the torture they've gone through.
Now, Amnesty International, I don't know how you perceive this problem of instant justice. Just, years ago, we dealt with the issue of Major Mahama. And days ago, we're dealing with the issue of what happened in Ashaman. Can you believe that a day after the Ashaman, a day or two after the Ashaman incident, there was another incident in Kumasi that someone had been lynched for attempting to steal a bus? I'm not sure how that issue is going yet, but we can deal with it later. Now, my question in all this is, when issues of this nature happens and we discuss them largely, sometimes it becomes a national issue. Like, for example, this Ashaman issue and there's the Major Mahama issue. Do people really hear? And when they hear, and with all the aftermath of what's happening, what can we say? Is it that people are hearing and they're ignoring, or they don't understand what the discussion? Maybe we speak too much English. What exactly is going on with persons and instant justice?
Thank you. What I think is that the state is not doing enough in terms of prosecuting people who are caught in this scandal. It's becoming a problem. Like I stated, look at Major Mahama's issue, a very promising military officer who could have reached any height in the army was bizarrely killed. As of today, I don't think the case has been resolved. The culprits have not been punished, and based on legal gymnastics, we are still delaying it. And you see, these are
Okay, we're trying to have a conversation.
people to come to Ghana Police Service should take this particular issue as a very important issue and deal with it. We are calling on the traditional authorities, and I think that these things are happening in our villages, in our communities, where we have opinion leaders, we have assembly members, we have MPs, yet they do little about it. And so we need to intensify education, and the punishment for this crime should be such that it will deter people from it. And so it's a two-way affair. Whilst deepening the law and enforcing that the law deals with these people, we should also embark on education, so that people should appreciate the need, because innocent people loses their lives every day to this mob action. We cannot be the police, we cannot be the judges, and we cannot prosecute instantly. The laws of this country frown on that. The premise of law says that everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty by a competent jurisdiction. It is therefore unacceptable for citizens to become the police and the judges themselves.
By your on your own scale, from the scale of 1 to 10, how do you think Ghana is performing in terms of duties and responsibilities of the citizen?
I think we are not doing very well. If citizens were carrying out their responsibilities very well, these incidents of mob action should have been reported. I dare say that what happened to our young immoral people who were close to this area, who cannot presume that they are not aware of the killers, they don't have any clue about these people. There should be a clue to this. And society is not doing good to itself, because what happened to that guy can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody at all. Just that somebody feels that he doesn't like you, hits you, or you have something that results in conflict, can find a way of getting gang to kill you. I mean, this is very unfortunate. And society must do well, especially our chiefs in our villages, our assembly members in our communities, opinion leaders, the clergy. We should speak up, we should take action. It should be a clarion call in the mosque, in the church, in our schools, everywhere. Mob action is not the way to go.
Let me have the lawyer come in. Theophilus, what do you make of, and I'm starting from that point because it's action begets reaction. I guess it is what someone has decided to do by taking, prosecutorial powers into his or her own hands, which is why we're where we are today. Do you agree that he's saying that there's not enough prosecution, people are not being seen punished when they carry out, instant justice, and then also we lack a bit of education? Maybe from your legal perspective, you have some opinion.
Before I start, let me greet your viewers, and then also say that the Major Mahama issue, I'm going to restrain myself from it
Right.
for two reasons. It is in court, and I'm part of the lawyers who are defending the accused persons. So definitely, it is not going to be part of. So we are going to focus mainly on the Ashama issue.
But we can ask if you're making progress.
We have made a lot of progress.
You've made a lot of progress.
Yes.
And
The
we're-
accused persons have been asked to open their defense.
Okay.
So they are opening their defense.
Go ahead.
And that comes back to the issue of the way the military came into the whole scene. But before I start, I must state that every human life is very important. There is only under one circumstances that the life of a human being can be taken, in execution of a judgment. Apart from that, nobody has a right to take the life of any human being.
Even for self-defense.
If you are defending yourself, fine. That one, the intention is not there. That also comes to the issue of mob justice. For instance, the issue that happened in Kumasi, where somebody was trying to allegedly stealing a bus. I believe that maybe he was even taking the bus in the honest belief that the bus belonged to him. So I want to say that there is enough justice being done. But there are a lot of issues here. We don't have so much costs available. And then the time that is allocated. For instance, yesterday I was in court, and a high court judge had 37 cases to deal with. In a day, he starts work at 9 and closes at 3 or 4. If you divide the time, the 8 hours, by the 30, you realize that you only go by the time the case is called, lawyers will announce themselves, the time allocated to one case is gone. So the perception that people are not getting justice is not, it is not.
And justice is slow.
It is slow. But if we say that justice is slow, so we want to execute our own way of doing justice, then it means that innocent people will be executed, as we are claiming in this case that happened in Ashama. I think that whatever happened, if he had gone to court, they are taking him to court, he would have had his say in court, his side will be heard. And if he's guilty of whatever reason for which he was lynched, then at the end of the day, the person, everybody will know that indeed he went through the mail. And I also want to say that there are times when the issue happened, the media carries it for a while, then it is dropped. If you come to court, you realize that, especially the Major Mahama case, the judge is not giving the defense counsel any space to further delay the case. This is a Supreme Court judge who has only one Monday. He sits on Mondays at the High Court. So, for instance, this week, she did not have the opportunity to sit, because it was a public holiday. So we should not say that because justice is being delayed, we are taking the law into our hands. Today, it might be immoral. Tomorrow, it might be you and I. Accidentally, we don't know what happened, why he was lynched. So I would advise that none of us should think that we can deliver justice. That is why, as a people, we have vested that power in the judiciary to administer justice on our behalf. And no other person can do that. So we should not think that because we feel that justice is slow, we are not seeing progress of cases, so we ourselves want to take the law into our own hands to administer justice. If you go on that target, then it means that we are going back to the military rule, where people were not giving hearing, where people, today, I know people who still complain that their parents, if they had been given a hearing, they would have known that the monies that were sitting in their account were genuinely acquired. But because nobody gave them a hearing, they were executed without any hearing. So that cannot be an excuse or a ground for people to take their law into their own hands. So I would join the masses, the opinion leaders, the civil society to condemn what happened in Ashama in lynching the officer. More importantly, when he was in military uniform, because the uniform belonged to the state. It is a state property. And that individual, once he put on that uniform, he ceases to be that person. He is vested with a lot of power.
So it's seen as an attack on the state.
It is an attack on the state, on the republic, once he's in the uniform. It is different from ordinary citizen. So once
Looking at that action from the citizen's perspective, how serious do you think that is? Where you see a man in a police uniform, you see a man in military uniform, and you still maybe immigration, and you still go ahead to attack.
That is what makes the issue very serious, because these are people we have empowered to protect us, to defend us in times of difficulty. And now if we are now attacking them in the uniform, when they wear the uniform, they now become more like the republic or the state. So now we are attacking the state. We are saying that we don't need the police again. We can do our own defense. We don't need the court again. We can do our own justice. That is what we are communicating, and which we must all condemn. That when there's an issue, let the person go through the lay-down procedure. And if you look at criminal justice, from arrest to conviction, Parliament has laid down procedure, what you must go through. The Constitution has made provisions when you are suspected, when you are accused of a crime. The processes, the tools, and the facilities that are available to the person to go through. And the state has also made provision. That is why when you see that in criminal matters, the individual cannot take you to court. Because if you offend me, and I don't have the means to engage a lawyer, I don't have the means to engage private investigators to investigate the matter, it means that people will commit crime and walk away. That is why the framers of the Constitution, the laws provides that the state will prosecute criminal acts on behalf of the person who has been offended. So even if you offend me, and I said that I've forgiven you, the state can take it up and prosecute that person and get conviction for that person. The victim is only a witness. So the state can even decide not to use you. So the state can
just take it up without necessarily you even going to report?
No, the state will take it up. And the state can even decide that I'm not going to use you, the victim, as a witness. I have enough evidence, I have enough witnesses to prosecute the matter, to get conviction in court. So the offenses against individuals and properties, it is prosecuted on behalf of those people, on behalf of the state. So it's offense against the state that the state will prosecute. So it is not in our circles to say that because the state is, we are not seeing anything being done, so we are taking the law into our own hands. I think that as a state, we need to condemn it. It is not a good practice to see men in uniform who are serving, because at any time the man stands there in the uniform, he represents the republic. He's acting on behalf of the republic, not in his own capacity. As I sit here, I sit in my own capacity. But today, if I become an officer of the state, then whatever I do it on behalf of the state. So whatever they are doing, so if an officer has committed a crime, report that officer. As a lawyer, I've seen police officers, I've seen military officers go through the judicial process, and they've been convicted and they've been punished. And I know of authority where the Supreme Court says that because of the position of the officer, he should be punished more than ordinary citizen. So it doesn't mean that when an officer commits an offense, the state will not deal with that officer. So when there's any crime committed by an officer of the state, we must report.
Let me move to Power River. I actually wanted you to expatiate a bit on the a judge handling about 39 cases within a few hours of a day, and how that is humanly and timely possible, if anything.
So it means that I didn't bring my diary, even as a private lawyer. Right. The whole of March, I cannot even accommodate any new case to go to court. So you can imagine a judge who sits there the whole day. I'm giving you an instance that happened at Amasama High Court yesterday. So if you take between 9 to maybe 3, you definitely will have a break. If you take the 8 hours and you divide by the number of cases, and if your case is called, the judge will record the parties, the lawyers, before the lawyers will introduce themselves and the judge will begin to write, 10 to 15 minutes is gone. So there will not be any work that will be done. If you look at the whole of Accra, and the level of crime. All the courts that we have prosecuting criminal cases in Accra are not up to 10. I know about 5 criminal courts in the court complex. We have 2 in Adenta, we have 1 in Amasama, and then we have 1 in, why have I forgotten? After Achimota. So these are the high courts that we have. But the circuit court also...
Achimota is Ofanko, if I'm right.
No, on your left side. I've forgotten, but I will remember. So too, there's a high court there. So it means that the judges are challenged in the sense that there are a lot of cases they have to grapple with. Look at Accra is big, and a lot of crimes are being committed, and everybody must have his or her say in court. So the judges are overwhelmed with work. I must admit that the judges are doing all that they can, but time is not available. You realize that the court has also been resourced of late. If you go to the court complex, the judges will not have to write. There are typists who are typing. But if you have, say, 20 minutes for each case for a day, and when you are taking a date, in the case where the person is in custody, the judge cannot adjourn more than 2 weeks. And at times they only come and take a date. So I believe that there's expansion in the judiciary. New courts are being built, but I think we need to do more so that people will be brought to justice. The delayance at the court, I will say that it is because we don't have enough courts to deal with the number of cases that comes up every day. And crime is increasing. We only get to know of these heinous ones because of the nature. But there are a lot of things that are happening that the media don't get to hear, but they end up in the court. Right. You realize that the prosecutors are also overwhelmed with work. And you see that all the time, there's friction between the judge, the prosecutors, and the lawyers, because everybody is trying to find time to get his time in court. So I think that we should bear with the judiciary. They are doing their best. I must recognize the fact that they are doing very, very well. Because at times a judge comes to sit in the morning, he will not even have a break because of the number of cases he wants to attend to each and every person who has come to court. So we should bear with them and we should allow the process. That is what, as a people, we have agreed that will govern us. That when we have a case, we'll go to court and the person will go through the mail. And the right to be heard is very fundamental, so sacrosanct that you cannot take it away. Once you are not heard in court and you appeal, and based on that ground alone, whatever has been done, the appellate court will set it aside. So we must make sure the person is heard, both the prosecution and the defense counsel.
Right. Let me have Palgrave come in. Palgrave. You know, when I asked you the question about the how serious it is to have a civilian just attack a state or the state, and you gave me that answer. Now, I'm looking at it from this angle that maybe after Ghana moved out from the military regime into a democratic regime, I'm not sure what educational system was put in place for the child going to school. And you know, when we talk about education, like Amnesty International was saying, we talk about education, we think something else. But something that orients the mind of the child, not just going around citizens and telling them that don't attack a military, but if the child goes to school, in terms of basic school, what are we taking this child through? What kind of training are we taking this child through to know that it's a very serious matter to even touch a policeman or military? So they come out of school very, very intelligent, very bright, but the military, the police, whatever, anybody and everybody is normal to them. It's really not that serious, except for sometimes extreme cases, people who are well exposed and oriented, that knows that it's a very serious offense to touch a man in a state uniform.
So, very good afternoon to you and to your viewers, and condolences to Moro's family, immediate family. Government has condemned the act, both sides, the excesses of the military and the lynching of the gentleman from the community of Ashaman. Indeed, when one is in a uniform, it's important that you accord that person all the necessary respect that that person needs, because the person assumes the responsibility of the state. And I've seen that considerably and consistently, there's almost always a disregard for persons in uniform, which is where we need to do a lot more of conversations and education for the Ghanaian people, particularly even the young people, to have an appreciation of what it means when one is in a military uniform or in a police uniform or in an immigration uniform or a customs and excise services uniform. And so that's key for us. As we speak now, I think there are left with about 4 persons within the military environments that are going through investigation. We've released all the people that were picked up. So we've released close to about 180 of them. We picked up about 184. So there are 4 now that are in there. I'm aware as well that the military high delegation is going to be visiting the community, and I'm certain that will bring a lot more healing. Yesterday was a very difficult time for the people of Ashaman. The burial was very, very difficult, and it's not one that we should encourage. So as we all condemn these, whenever you are confronted with anything, I think that the right thing for you to do is to go through the law courts. And in this country, there's the legal aid. And so if you don't even have money to afford a lawyer, the state has a lawyer for you to be able to deal with your case.
So, like I asked earlier, is it becoming clearer to you that we probably have to put in our educational curriculum some of the things that we need to teach children so that the next generation will appreciate the seriousness of some of these crimes?
Well, I think that all of society is extremely holistic. It's not just education. The family within which you come from is critically key. Religious bodies are also very key. Traditional authorities are very key. It's important that we drum home these important value system. As a Ghanaian, we need to ask ourselves, what are our value system? Are we picking up?
A lot of people are now criticizing our educational system that is actually making our children lose the values. They grow up and really, a few children are really patriotic.
Yeah, well, no, so I don't want to even just look at it from just the educational system. I want to look at it from the entire value system that is needed for an individual. And there are critical agencies that make impact in the life of children. And you can't rule out the family integrity that would need to be built up very strongly, because everything you are socialized from your home. And right from your home, you get into your school. And then from your school, you get into your religious affiliation. So that value system should have a trickle-down effect. And
let me come in again. You know where we seem to be losing sight of? This home that you're talking about are made up of families who went through the same educational system we're putting up. Do you get? So this mother, father, does not appreciate the situation, does not appreciate how serious it is for my child to touch a police officer, a military officer, whatever. Now, generation after generation, we're churning out people of this nature. So now, today, we're losing the family value system, and that is also affecting us. Is leadership not recognizing that? It still starts with leadership, that when you take it through, maybe at this generation we've lost it, but if we're trying to create a new generation, it will start from somewhere. Where it has to start is within the educational system, where we are bringing up new people with a new dimension who are now going to form the basis of family system, who are going to, be impacting the way you want them to impact. Because for now, we've lost it. You don't have the family system today that is able to nurture your future generation.
So you see, I don't know the academic background and how well.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, yes, I understand, but I'm trying to say I don't know the academic background and how well the people that offer these crimes. Maybe the lawyer here would help us with people that usually are caught up in these crimes, their academic background, because that will also help us appreciate their level of literacy. Because I mean, obviously, if you have been schooled very well, your level of understanding and reaction to issues will be very different from other persons that have not been socialized and schooled very well. And then also there is this continuous peer pressure that comes around. We've seen targeted communities in this country where people are notoriously involved in bad things. And obviously, if you are even academically sound and you get yourself involved in these pressure groups, you would have those negative influences coming on board you. I mean, it's regrettable. It's important that we have a closer look. Obviously, yes, our educational systems are key. I know that various schools are strategically putting in this value system into the lives of the young people so they can value military personnel and even value elderly people. So it's a clearer value system, and the home that you come from is also important.
If my producer is watching, can we have a list of the crimes that we've recorded so far and the nature of them, if we have it now? If it is, then I'll have you help us understand the question you posed. I think it's important for us to appreciate what the situation really is now. But in the meantime, did the president sanction the military into Ashaman?
I think the letter that came out was very clear that the military high command asked that a sizable number of the military personnel go into Ashaman to look for the perpetrators. And so I think the letter that came out is very clear on it.
That it was sanctioned.
The letter that came out is very clear.
That it was sanctioned.
The letter that came out is very clear that they should go into the community and then find the perpetrators.
In a manner that...
Not in the manner. I mean, yes. I mean, obviously, we've condemned the excesses that came out. Yes, we've condemned the excesses, but the letter is very clear that they were under authority to go into the community and look for the perpetrators and bring them back to camp.
And they actually are going to be punished. There's going to be
definitely.
Internal
I'm certain that there's going to be, yes, within the military, there's going to be internal investigation. There's going to be a lot more persons that are found culpable would be brought to the law.
Let me ask you this, coming from your office, does it matter to the military when there's a blot of this nature on their activities?
Explain that further. What does a blot mean?
When there's a dent on their credibility in terms of what they have done, for example, does it matter to them? Do they feel bad about it? The military as a whole?
So, yes.
Because we will go and record and we'll come and put it on TV. So I'm wondering, how does the military feel with us showing all that, the brutality they've carried out onto the people? Or is it because of their nature of work, they really don't?
Our military is one of the best militaries on this continent,
yes,
and
on
this sub-region.
I want to understand their psyche when they see these things.
It's obviously a very great concern, definitely, that one of the military personnel will be lynched in this way. So obviously, as human beings, they will feel the pain that one of their personnel have been lynched, and there are reported cases of Major Mahama and even Imoro and other cases that have happened within the military. Caution obviously is important to bring to bear, but you know how military personnel are trained. They are trained for a number of high-level combat. But we apologize for the excesses that have come out of it.
Now, before I come to you, let me ask you again. How come the president didn't mention any? I mean, in the beginning, I said what happened, right? But how come he was mute on that?
So, you see, the military had brought out a response to it. It's being handled within it's not every single issue that you would expect the president to make a comment on publicly. That's not what I said. Yes, well, that's it. But I need to put it out there.
And I like the way lawyer explained who a statesman is, or who somebody that represents the state. Someone is in a uniform. It's not a matter that the president can choose to comment or not to comment. Someone is in a uniform and has been murdered or killed. I won't say murdered, but he's been killed. And, following that, this is what the military did. And also civilians who represent the states at the same time have also been affected. The president cannot choose or not to choose to comment or not to comment on it.
I don't know why the president did not comment on it.
You're not sure why he didn't comment?
I don't know why he didn't comment on it.
Lawyer.
Yes, before I react to the question, I want to respond to the question you asked. But there's this case involving one Mr. Asante, who was a policeman who arrested somebody. And the person actually beat up Asante, the police officer. Asante beat up the police officer. And when the matter went to court, the issues of the arrest, the court said that it was unlawful because the police officer did not go through the right processes in arresting Asante.
Right, wow.
But Mr. Asante was fined because he damaged the uniform the police officer was wearing.
Yeah.
And the charge was that he has destroyed state property. But the beating was justified because the police officer did not go through the right processes.
Can you describe how the police officer arrested him?
Before you arrest me, you have to
Sure.
let me get your attention, maybe by touching and telling me in a language that I understand, that you are arresting me for this particular offense, and that I have a right of a lawyer of my choice
Right.
before I can effect the arrest. That is what the Constitution says.
Is that supposed to be constant? Every time you arrest someone on a particular case,
Yes.
you need to recite that?
You need to tell
We see
him
it
the
in movies
reason
all
why
the time, right.
the reason why you are arresting him. And it is not that you tell him that for so and so date you were at this place and you committed this offense, or you are alleged to have committed this offense, or there's another omnibus ground that you have a reasonable ground that I'm going to commit an offense or have committed an offense. So in whatever form, you need to inform the person the reason for the arrest. The reason why I brought in this case for us to appreciate that when somebody is in uniform, the person represents the state. The issue about education, I think that our education has not helped, my honest opinion. I am a product of our educational system, but you realize that all that we are being taught is to pass exams. So I was scandalized when the Ministry of Education decided to print past questions and marking scheme examiners report for JHS students. I was asking myself, is that what we can do? And people are complaining that textbooks have not been printed for the past 3 or 4 years. But yet we find it convenient to make sure that people pass exams. So it is because of the kind of education that we get. I'll give a classical example. My children do not get to see me from Monday to Friday. They will only see me Saturdays and Sundays. Even that one is limited. They have a lot of interaction with their teachers. At times, it takes me time to correct something their teacher has told them, which I think is wrong. But because they listen to the teacher, so I think that our education has not inculcated that civil education.
Yeah, and you know how even in education we can practically do that, where in other countries you have persons when they are going through the national service period, every one of you will go through the security training. So when you come out, you already have an orientation of respecting the man in uniform. Do you understand? So it comes in various forms and shapes and sizes where we can adopt, not necessarily print past questions which the students will learn and forget, but take them through practical training of security where they will now appreciate what security really is. It's not just someone killing someone and then we come and sit down with them, we're talking security matters. No, but we've lost it in a way right from the basics. The one who pulled the knife and decided to choke someone in a security in uniform, I'm not sure who the person is, what the person's orientation really is, how the person appreciates some of these things. So it's and you know, Paragraph, when it goes round, it comes back to affect you
Absolutely.
Because you are the one supposed to implement it. Now, we now go through a cycle and say, oh, someone killed a security man and the military went to beat them. Now, the commander-in-chief is being blamed. Now, the commander-in-chief goes to parliament to present SONA and doesn't mention anything. People say, oh, he doesn't love Ghanaians. Do you understand? So when you don't implement it from the basics, you are the one that, in the end, face the brunt of it.
It's tough. It's really very tough. But we all have an honest responsibility as Ghanaians to ensure that we inculcate discipline into our children. And I'm glad that you mentioned in other jurisdictions. You just got back from Israel, and you are aware within Israel, well, because of the Baba Mitzvah, the Yom Kippur war that they experienced, every single teenager would go through the military, and you'll find them with their AK-47 in the afternoon having lunch. I mean, all around Jerusalem.
And where the prayer is said?
Yes, the Wailing Wall. They are all around there, around even the city of David. You find them all around there.
Someone who's almost your son, and you're looking at him like, why are you holding an AK-47 at me? And they're so young. It's beautiful, but I mean, it tells you the dream the country is on, or the path the country is on. And
the experiences. I mean, really, sometimes when people call for events of the past, it's because they have not experienced those. I recall on the Independence Day, you realize that at some part of the televised, it went off a little bit because there was a fire, and I met some elderly people in a restaurant who missed that part, and they were unhappy. So independence is important for certain people. It might not be important for some young people because they do not see the value of it and all of that. So these things are critically important, that people see the value of it. And maybe we should have some national conversation where an aspect of our national service is dedicated for you to serve, even if it's a month or two. To go to Bondiase for some training and get some little discipline within yourself.
I'll honestly be glad if we can get that from you, because you're in office now as a government spokesperson on security. It doesn't hurt to draft a proposal, and issue it to Parliament. I mean, maybe to government.
I'll suggest to the appropriate authorities.
Because you are having the opportunity.
I'll suggest to the appropriate. I'll suggest to the appropriate authorities.
Can I continue with my submission?
Yeah, sure.
Our
time is almost up. So
the second aspect of it is that these same people who have gone through our educational system, who are not properly oriented, get into the security services. So you realize that it becomes a two-way affair. The citizens and those who are serving, they also do not have proper orientation, so they are not able to live up to the standard. So the question I was asking myself is that, as a military man, when you are on your private assignment, are you supposed to be in your uniform? Because I was told that he was in uniform. So is he supposed, at that time of the day or whatever it is, was it supposed to be there? So I think that the training is very, very important, as you have said, and that he has an opportunity to live up to expectation. That it will be credited to him that he came to Good Afternoon Ghana.
I surely will push it.
Yes, so it is a good challenge that has been thrown to you.
I'll write it to the appropriate authorities.
I think that he said that there are some people in the custody of the military. I believe strongly that that is wrong at the first place. And I'll give you two reasons. First, it is the duty of the police to arrest, detain, and investigate, and if possible, prosecute criminal actions. So for over 48 hours, these people are still in their custody. It breaches our constitution. It says that if within 48 hours you cannot present the person, then present the person to court and say that court, for ABC and so reasons, we want you to remand the person in our custody. And for now, we have a declaration by the Supreme Court that there is no holiday, there is no weekends when it comes to the 48 hours. So if you think that the 48 hours will fall within a holiday, you write to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice will assign you a court and a judge. So for them to be keeping them and saying that they have released majority of them, I think that it is wrong. We must also condemn that, because the police has been given that power. So now the military have decided to usurp the powers of the police.
Right.
And the president was in parliament. You see the events, the event happened.
Our time is up. Our time is up. So that's why they are playing your closing.
Okay.
So Paragwe Boachidankwa speaks for government and also in charge of security, a government spokesperson on security. Also Theophilus Donko is private legal practitioner.